Cleveland, Ohio. Browns quarterback Dylan Gabriel took questions from reporters on Wednesday with regard to the Joe Flacco trade, the Browns' offense, looking ahead to playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, and more. Dylan, how'd you find out? What was your reaction when you heard that Joe Flacco was traded yesterday? Yeah, found out at the QB meeting, got to talk to Joe right before he was heading out. But like I said before, I appreciate him. He's a part of the journey, and this journey for me individually in the NFL. So grateful for him, and wish him the best of luck for sure. How much of a shock was it for you? I'm not surprised by anything at this point in the NFL. It's the day and age we live in, so anything can really happen. How do you replace that experience and leadership that I think you were relying on to some degree without him here, and then what's that dynamic in that room now? Yeah, I think dynamic is always evolving, especially when there is change. But, I think it still goes back to us being able to have that experience for ourselves. I think you learn the best when you are thrown into a fire a little bit. I'd be a hypocrite to say otherwise. So, I think the more experience you gain game after game, week after week, you'll get better. And, the Bees app, Bailey's app, has played a bunch of ball as well. Dylan, from an individual standpoint, what were your first impressions when you watched the film? Yeah, just, a lot to clean up. There's always going to be good and bad, but I think just having a calm persistence to attack it regardless of the result and try to get better within your process. But is there things I want back? 100%, you know what I mean? I think that's for everyone in this game, but I think you got to look at it and find solutions and be solutions-based that can help the outcome here in the future. In your last college career, you played in a lot of hostile environments. Pittsburgh is one in the NFL. So, would you rather not know the history of Pittsburgh? Playing in Pittsburgh, keep your mind uncluttered, and just find out for yourself what it's like? I think you kind of find out by yourself. Of course, you hear a lot from others and understanding the rivalry, and myself playing in rivalry games, totally understand that, but I still think there's just the main importance of just doing your J and doing it at a high level. So that'll all come, and have a lot of respect for Pittsburgh and what they've done, and that's for every opponent we play. Dylan, what is maybe one major thing that you learned from Joe Flacco? What will you continue to hear or see in your mind about something that he told you, or taught you? Yeah, I don't think it's one thing. I wouldn't want to limit it to that. But I think just overall his process, how he's been about his business from day one really. How he approaches meetings, practice, taking care of his body, kind of his daily routine. So, I think you pick up on that as you're around people and try to make it your own and learn how you can improve your routine. But more importantly, just the friendship and the person he is. Although there is an age gap, I think just being able to connect and have those conversations, I appreciate those a lot. In the game in London, I couldn't tell there, but when you were on the sideline looking over the tablet, was Joe Flacco involved? I think everyone's involved in that. I don't want to break down the whole, but you look at your tablet and you kind of think for yourself, you ask questions, guys, are there kind of flip-flop even when I was in that chair? So I think everyone says what they can whenever, time is right. Dylan, Kevin Stefanski, told us that he's going to wait until later in the week to decide if Shedeur Sanders can be the number 2, or if maybe Bailey Zapp would be the number 2. Does that impact you and your preparation? I don't handle any of that. I'll leave that to coaches. But we got a great room, bunch of guys that either played or, have the potential to play. And I think we just come together as a team, and the importance is trying to find ways to win. But I'll leave that with coach. Not the decision, but what I meant was do the number 1 and number 2 guys, because you guys are out there taking most of the first team reps together. Is there a synergy that happens during the week between you guys just in terms of preparation, in terms of film study, and does this sort of delay in decision? Does that impact your preparations in any way whatsoever? Or do you guys all do that stuff together? No, it's always been together. So I think just business as usual, but like I said, just solution-based and trying to find ways to win and be flexible and open to that. That being said, do you have conversation with Shedeur after the Flacco trade, kind of how crazy and surreal it is that, it started out 4-man competition and now the 2 rookies are left standing? Did you guys have conversations about that? I think our whole room just talked shortly after. But at this point, we're really not surprised what can happen in the NFL, so. Already you're not surprised? Yeah, at this point, anything can happen. Pittsburgh has a lot of turnovers on defense. The Pittsburgh Steelers didn't have a first-round pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. But Wednesday, the Steelers had an opportunity to sign a highly coveted prospect from the 2020 draft class. Steelers Depot reported Wednesday the team hosted linebacker Isaiah Simmons for a workout. The Arizona Cardinals drafted Simmons at number 8 overall in the 2020 NFL Draft. Simmons was one of 2 linebackers the Steelers hosted for a workout. Pittsburgh also invited Michael Barrett to its facility. The Pittsburgh Steelers hosted a pair of linebackers for tryouts on Wednesday, wrote Steelers Depot's Alex Kozora. Per the NFL's transition sheet, the Steelers worked out LB Michael Barrett and Isaiah Simmons. The latter is a notable name, a former first-round pick with more than 40 career starts. The Steelers didn't sign either linebacker the same day as the workout. Early on Wednesday, the team added second-year linebacker Jacoby Wynn-Mon to its practice squad. Simmons spent 3 seasons with the Cardinals and then played 2 years mostly as a reserve linebacker for the New York Giants. In 84 NFL games, he has posted 329 combined tackles, including 15 tackles for loss. Simmons has also registered 8.5 sacks, 21 pass defenses, and 5 interceptions. However, a vast majority of pundits consider Simmons a bust. At 27 years old, Simmons doesn't have a job even though he was the top linebacker in the draft just 5 years ago. Ascending hybrid talent with rare length, speed, and versatility to create mismatches for the offense, depending upon alignment, wrote NFL.com's Lance Zierlein. He has a bachelor's at 3 positions, slot corner, safety, linebacker, but could earn a master's degree in complex workload with a more focused and defined job description than jack of all trades. His unique potential to spy and shrink the field against dual-threat quarterbacks could push him way up the draft board. Steelers host LB Isaiah Simmons for workout. Simmons hasn't lived up to his lofty draft expectations. But still only 27 years old, he's an intriguing flyer for a team this fall. That could especially be the case for the Steelers with the team losing a pair of linebackers this week. On Tuesday, the Steelers waived Jawan Bentley to add running back/returner Raheem Blackshear to their practice squad. Then Tuesday night, the Las Vegas Raiders signed John Radigan off the Pittsburgh practice squad and to their active roster. The Steelers added Wynn-Mon to their practice squad to replace them. The team would have to make a corresponding move now to add Simmons. But it wouldn't be surprising if the Steelers elected to add more linebacker depth on their practice squad. Steelers also had LB Michael Barrett for visit. Simmons was the headliner, but the Steelers also had Barrett visit this week. The Carolina Panthers selected Barrett in the 7th round of the 2024 NFL Draft. Ironically, the Panthers picked the linebacker with a Pittsburgh draft selection that went to Carolina in the Deontay Johnson-Donte Jackson trade in March 2024. Ahead of his rookie season, the Panthers dealt Barrett to the Seattle Seahawks. Over a year and a half in the league, Barrett has also spent time with the Cleveland Browns, Green Bay Packers, and Raiders. In college, Barrett played 6 seasons at Michigan. He had 65 combined tackles, including 4 for loss and 3 sacks for the team during their 2023 National Championship campaign. The receiver position has been a major talking point for the Steelers dating back to well before the start of the current campaign. DK Metcalf has performed well to date, but the matter of depth could prove to be an issue as the season progresses. Pittsburgh was heavily linked to Brandon Ayuk last summer before he ultimately inked a 49ers extension. The Steelers were then close to a Christian Kirk acquisition before the 2024 trade deadline, but his season-ending injury made that a moot point. Once again, it appears the team will be one to watch on the trade front at the receiver position. Mark Kaboly of The Pat McAfee Show fully anticipates the Steelers engaging in conversations about all available wideouts between now and the November 4th trade deadline. Metcalf is under contract for the foreseeable future, but Calvin Austin is attached to the final year of his rookie deal and no new commitment on the team's part is expected at this point. Austin is expected to miss time coming off the bye, although Kaboly adds his injury is not believed to be serious. That should open the door for Roman Wilson to take on an expanded role in the passing game. The 2024 third-rounder was limited to just 1 game as a rookie, though, and he has recorded only 1 catch so far in 2025. Per Cavali, the underlying cause behind Wilson's ineffective performances and low usage rate is unclear at this point. Barring an uptick in his role, the Michigan product could remain a minor figure on offense moving forward. That will especially be true if a trade acquisition is to be made in the near future. Once Pittsburgh had Aaron Rodgers in place, Allen Lazard was named as a potential trade target. No deal was made, but Lazard is a pending free agent attached to a base salary of just $1.75 million thanks to the pay cut agreement he reached with the Jets this offseason. New York sits at 0-5 on the year, and a seller's approach ahead of the deadline is expected. It will be interesting to see if that includes a willingness to move Lazard to a contender. The Steelers' double-in win moved them to 3-1 heading into their bye week. Things could change quickly, but wins against the teams next to opponents, the Browns and Bengals, would solidify Pittsburgh's status as a buyer. General Manager Omar Khan has shown a willingness to be aggressive ahead of the season, which is believed to be the final one of Rodgers' career. It would come as little surprise if, at a minimum, a repeat of last year's Mike Williams acquisition were to take place.